Okay, take two. So, after the last video that I posted, I started to think and put some pieces together. And it was just like everything was just all of a sudden, I figured out where the pieces went. And it sounds fucking crazy as shit. But I was thinking about how, just because you don't believe in something doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't affect you. It's something that I learned when I was like going through a lot of books on spirituality, hoodoo and voodoo and things like that. Like I just like to learn about it so I know what it is. But uh, then there was this whole thing that kept popping up, and it's been popping up for like a couple of years, and I've just been kind of ignoring it. But a lot of things pop up all the time, and I'm just one of those people that I always go to me first for being the problem. And the thing that kept popping up over and over again was destiny swapping. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, I did. I made a dream video earlier about a similar thing too. And I remember having a fucking dream. But it wasn't until like I remembered about like what it was like living in the haunted house that I even came to this fucking conclusion, and everything started to fucking make sense. Anyways, so destiny swapping has been popping up a lot for me. It's just like destiny swap, like it was like that for years. And I was just like, no, my problem is me. That I am my only problem. Even though yes, I was set up for failure because, everything that would have gotten me my independence was never taught to me. And so I was just like, okay, well, now that I'm an adult, I have to do it because now my mother is no longer obligated. So I tried to find ways to do things for myself, but, I lived in a place where I couldn't just easily go and, walk to a job. And I didn't understand the bus system. And, my bills were paid by somebody else. So I had whatever they needed me to do, I had to freaking do. So that's how that fucking went. Well, I realized that in the haunted house is when the like clairvoyance started to become a regular experience. And there was one point where I had seen like my future kid. And my future kid, my firstborn, was a boy. My firstborn was supposed to be a boy. I had seen it clear as day. I knew it was meant for me. There was no doubt in my mind. There was nothing anybody in that motherfucking house could have done to tell me that what I imagined was an illusion. And my aunt even confirmed that she had seen him. And I was just like, because I knew, like, I'm not going to have a kid unless I'm in a healthy fucking relationship. That was one track mind. I'm not having a kid unless I'm in a fucking relationship. And I'm that type of person. I want to be all together everywhere else first before I fucking have a kid. Somewhere down the fucking line, my brain got broken and I ran into some fucking issues with that, obviously. Because my two kids are both girls. And so where I started to realize that these whole destiny swap alerts were real was not only just like titles of stuff and people saying it as I'm like scrolling TikTok or like YouTube. It was in the fucking TV shows too. And it kept coming up in a specific video game too, where Dragon Age Origins, where there's Morgan. I don't remember. Is she Morgan or Morgan? I don't know. They keep changing her name all the damn time. But she has a mother named Flemeth. She finds her grimoire and finds out that her mother intended to possess her body when she came of age. And supposedly later on in the game, I didn't finish that. spoilers, I guess. Supposedly later on in the game, she wanted to get a kid so that she could do the same thing to them. The fuck? Anyways, I started to also realize there was another TV show, Titans. And I don't remember if Blackfire in Titans was the older sister or the younger sister, but it turns out that, spoilers again, Starfire's fire power wasn't her actual power. That whole like explosive sun power did not belong to her. It actually belonged to her sister. It was taken from her sister and given to Starfire, and she could not control it because it wasn't her power to begin with. And her sister had always felt like something was missing. They were always at odds. All the damn time. They fought all the fucking time until her sister happened to like get near her again and ended up taking the power back. Only like, and she thought that it was stolen from her, but it wasn't. It was always Blackfire's power. And it was a signal that she was supposed to be the queen, but something along the lines, got screwed up, and the parents like made her give up her power for her sister. If that isn't a signal, like, okay, so here's where I connected it to my situation. I was supposed to have a son as a firstborn. I was just like, I'm not having this kid unless it's a fucking healthy relationship. Plain and simple. I was determined. Now, the thing with destiny swap. My sister, my younger sister, my first sister, her firstborn was a boy. And you can say I'm motherfucking crazy and that all of this fucking shit is not real or whatever the case is, but I don't give a fuck. Like, this is all over existence. And I found the pieces that like highlight that this was a fucking destiny swap too. And maybe it wasn't intended from my sister, but I have family members that don't like when I am supposed to get stuff, because I had a cousin who like said something about my future. And before I could get any details, everybody kind of like pushed me out of the way, and I didn't get to ask him anything more. And I had constantly experienced things that I really wanted with all of my being. Not only were they like taken out of my hands, like completely, I was a child, impressed out of my hands and out of my wantings, but some of the things that I had developed, some of the things I had focused on, ended up being done by other people in my family. Because at one point I said I wanted to be a tarot reader. There are other people in my family that do that now. Like, I wanted to do that and have my own shop and like do like work in person, because I'm better with that. And that was my goal. So I started studying and all of that shit. And lo and behold, other family members ended up doing it instead. Everything that I've shared that I wanted, or anything that I've taken interest in, has been taken to a whole other fucking level by somebody else. Like, if I'm a fan of, like, once when I was a kid, I was a fan of like That's a Raven. That was my show. But then my sister took the fanning to the highest fucking level, to obsession. And then I was just like, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, she's a fan too. But I kind of like pulled back from it, because then it's just like, it was just a little bit too much for me. And then the same thing happened with the anime, but I'll get into that another time. But like, I might have to do a fucking part 2. I'm gonna do a fucking part 2. We'll get into the other fucking shit. We're gonna do a part 2. I'm gonna comment part 2 this time. I'm going to say it so that I remember to do it. I'm going to comment part 2 and then link the video to it. Hopefully I can figure out how to do that. If not, then I'm sorry.